Okay, we're live. Thanks everybody for joining us. We're going to actually open with the trailer in just a second. Give me 1 sec to go ahead and come on over to it really quick. And I'm so excited for you guys to hear from Kelly all about her documentary. I had a chance to see it back in just a couple weeks ago in Long Beach, and it was incredible, absolutely incredible. Okay, cool. So let me go ahead and show you guys the trailer, and then we will jump in it. Mayuko, you say your audio is not working. Monique, can you hear me? Because I see that you're on. Let's see. Yep. Okay, cool. So Mayuko, you can finish yours. Yep, I can hear you. Great. Okay, let's go ahead and show you guys the trailer, and then we'll jump into it. Let's go here, and we want to share sound. Okay.
It's not just that disease starts in the mind. It's that everything starts in the mind.
In today's world, these stresses are 24/7, 365. The net result is illness and disease.
90% of what takes people to the doctor is stress-related illnesses.
When you perceive a threat, in the old days we referred to that as fight or flight.
But now it's your spouse, or it's your boss, or it's rent that's due in a week. And yet the system reacts as though it's a life-threatening situation.
And if you're running a fight or flight response all the time, your immune system is compromised chronically.
We have the most money going into healthcare than any country in the world, and we have some of the worst statistics of healthcare.
Doctors and insurance companies give a drug, which then has a side effect, more toxicity, more ill health.
My body wants to be healthy, but it's the head it's the fear. I don't know who I am without being sick.
In a way, we have more faith in the power of cancer to kill us than we have faith in the power of infinite possibility.
Every organ in the human body has the ability to heal itself under the right conditions. What are those conditions? That's the question.
We are in a mindset that our body is a machine full of organs with buttons and levers that need adjusting.
Psoriasis and eczema, cause unknown. Multiple sclerosis, cause unknown. Fibromyalgia, cause unknown.
There have been radical remission for every single cancer type. Pancreatic cancer, stage 4 lung cancer, a big brain tumor that's considered inoperable. There are examples of people out there who have healed from it. When I looked at the data, they were all using these 9. Only 2 of them are physical. The rest are mental, emotional, and spiritual.
Does this mean medicine is all negative? And I go, absolutely not. Medicine does miracles with trauma.
If you have a chronic illness, believe the diagnosis, but don't believe the prognosis.
What we see here is belief itself shifts biology. That intelligence giving us life. It is the greatest healer in the world.
These symptoms are brilliantly intelligent in waking us up. Doesn't matter how long you've been sick, you can heal, and always remember that and never forget it.
Gosh, I love it. I love it. So our guest today is Kelly Noonan Gores. She's a Los Angeles native, and she started her career in front of the camera, acting and hosting over a span of 20 years. In 2012, she started Elevative Entertainment and transitioned into writing and producing. She most recently produced the feature film Taken in 2015. It was a spoof on the Taken franchise. She also starred in and was an executive producer of the award-winning feature film Beneath in 2013, as well as the award-winning short film Take a Seat in 2011. She is a seeker of truth, has practiced yoga and meditation for 15 years, and considers her latest project, the documentary feature Heal, her greatest passion in life's work. Thank you. Welcome.
Thank you.
Yeah, so let's get into it. So share with me, how in the world did you end up producing a documentary about, the body's innate capability to heal itself?
I mean, it was definitely a calling. I learned from all of these teachers that I put in the film over probably, I think I first read Marianne Williamson's book, Return to Love, when I was 20 years old.
So good.
So good. And that was like a big shift in my kind of spiritual seeking life. That set me on a path of seeking. I was always a seeker, questioning things. But And then, through my 20s, I think, I don't know, it was just continuing to like learn from these teachers that empowered me to understand that we're co-creators of life. We're not victims of life, and our thoughts and our emotions, create our life. I mean, what we think about, we bring about, and how powerful if you become aware of your thoughts and emotions, how you can kind of shift your life in powerful ways. So it was just a series of learning over time, and like reading Bruce Lipton's book, The Biology of Belief. I think I read that when I was maybe 10 years ago. And I was just like with Return to Love, which I think I gave to all of my girlfriends.
Right.
Anyone I knew, I'm like, you have to read this book. It makes so much sense. Right. With Biology of Belief too, and learning about epigenetics and how we're not victims of our genes. I was like, oh my God, how come the world?
How come nobody doesn't talk about this?
Exactly.
Yeah.
So, and then, it was just applying like different different tools with gratitude, and I've sought change my life, and then learning about nutrition. So I just layered on all of this knowledge that, I grew up in film. So film was the medium that I felt was most powerful. Mm-hmm. So, ultimately I just, since reading Bruce's book, I was just like, kind of dreaming of making this film with all of my teachers in it to empower people to kind of take their power back in life and change their life through their heart and their mind.
Wow. That's awesome. I mean, we could spend a whole hour talking about that, a calling and then following the calling and everything coming and, the universe laying it out for you. We could spend a whole hour on that. But I was just thinking this morning, I was reading a article online about epigenetics, and they were saying that how they've determined that babies that are held, or babies that are under distress, like it genetically has like an imprint on their genetics. I was like, oh my gosh, that's tangible. And then I was thinking about myself. One of the first times that I realized that my thoughts and emotions had I think everybody has somewhat of an idea that your thoughts and emotions affect your physical body. But I remember years ago, I went in for a physical, and they had taken, they do their blood scans and stuff. And I went back in, and she said, you have really high histamine. And I was like, oh yeah, because yesterday I was under a bunch of stress, and I could feel like the cortisol in my body, right? There was like a tangible effect in the blood test. And for me, I go into kind of like an autoimmune where I get eczema and like hives. And then I remember making the connection. Oh my gosh, my thoughts and my feelings and my emotions are like really powerful, tangible stuff. So when I saw your movie, I was like, oh my gosh, yes, I so get it. So tell me because you worked with some incredible people. I mean, when you look at the top, the experts that you have, I mean, it's like everybody in like the metaphysical want to work with. What were some of your biggest lessons when you were working with them?
I mean, it was really interesting to see who was living, like walking the walk and like living it. And 99.9% of them were really just like showed up. They know their stuff. They're living their truth. It's like a knowing. And that kind of resonated with me. And I think, it was like when I read Marianne's book, when I read Bruce's book, when I listened to Michael Beckwith at Agape, it was just like a knowing in me that is, it's truth, for me. And maybe it's not for everybody, but it resonated truthful for me. So it was interesting to see like which ones, and they all did. I mean, there was maybe one instance that didn't kind of feel aligned, but they were living their truth, and they just showed up. They're not stressful. They're not worried about how they look or how they sound or how they're going to be perceived. They're just speaking their message, and they were grateful for a platform they're at the place in their careers and lives where they just want to share their message because they know it's helping empower people. Right. So it's just really cool to be in that space. And then a couple of things, I knew a lot of this information going in. I knew it already. So there's, I wanted to portray that lesson, in the film, but nothing was very like, aha, oh my God, I'd never heard that before. But there were some instances like, to really understand that we have these programs that we download from other people when we're an infant to age 7. Literally, our brain waves are just designed at that stage of development to soak in all the information from our environment. So we're downloading other people's programs energetically, and then, emotionally, everything. So to be aware that that kind of sets the stage for your life. And now these programs are changeable, but if you're not aware that they're kind of running your life and setting the tone and framework for your relationships you're going to have in life, for your belief about, life, is the universe loving, is God loving, or is it judgmental and scary and hostile, So the fact that we have these subconscious programs and belief systems, most of which might be negative and limiting, if we're not aware of them, then we can't change them. Then we are victims of this energy that's kind of driving our lives. So I think that's such a powerful lesson in the film, to become aware that there might be belief systems running our lives that we're not aware of, and then what do we do to help shift those beliefs and create new belief systems? And that's why we all have this innate healing capacity, but we do need people to kind of support us in this process and help shift things, because sometimes we're just not aware,
It's really tough to do it all on your own.
Yeah.
You can't see it. I mean, it's like blind spots. So you definitely need people to help you through this process.
Yeah.
So let's talk about the film a little bit. So in the film, I know we follow a couple stories of people that are kind of experiencing their own, health crisis, and we watch them. So let's talk a little bit about what happens so that people can get really excited about going out and seeing it.
Yeah. So one of the things I wanted to do, because there's a lot of films, on the mind-body connection, there's a lot of films with these very same people in it. What I wanted to do, and when I saw films like this that were kind of circling around different aspects of what I'm portraying in the film, it was just people talking about their experience. And I wanted to kind of go on the experience through the journey with the people, so we can really, it's easy to talk about it in hindsight, and it's easy to kind of talk about it if you're not living it. Pain, depression, cancer, all of these things are so fearful and like debilitating, that I wanted to go on the journey with people so that we could actually really learn, that it's easier said than done, So I follow a woman that is dealing with stage 4 cancer, and we go on her journey and how she's struggling with choosing Western medicine treatment, chemo and radiation and surgery. When she has an acupuncture and yoga background, she was just really resistant to doing the Western conventional treatment. But, she has a brother who's a really intelligent guy, and he was just like, dude, it's stage 4. Like, you don't have time to go juice, you've been juicing your whole life. So,
right.
So that was a real, to go through that emotional journey with her, and then see other things that she did to complement the conventional therapy and treatment. So that's a fascinating journey to go on. We go on the roller coaster ride with her and see some pretty cool things that happen. And then there's another woman who is dealing with a chronic mystery illness. It's a total mystery, Western specialist. She's been to every specialist, UCLA, Cedars-Sinai, Mayo Clinic, to analyze the skin issue. And she literally breaks out in boils, like boils.
It was really aggressive.
Super.
Like this isn't like a little eczema. Or like, I was like, oh my God.
Yeah, it starts as like a little red rash, and then it turns into these flowering blossoms of just such pain. I mean, you get a little paper cut. Imagine the pain of like a huge boil breaking up all over your neck and stuff. So her struggle is real, and but she's not really open to, she's representative of people who don't necessarily think holistically yet, or don't have that background. And so she's a wonderful example of people that just aren't aware that everything's connected, and how conventional treatment is just going to manage the symptom. So the only answer, all of the specialists just said, well, you must have some autoimmune thing going on, but we don't know what the cause is. We don't know what's causing it. So here, we're just going to give you a high dose of steroids to wipe out the boils. Well,
Right.
we learn that steroids are just treating the symptom and not getting to the root cause, which is a huge theme in the film. You got to find out the root cause and shift that.
Yeah, because you'll be on steroids for the rest of your life.
Right. Which, if you know the side effects of steroids, it's going to create massive other problems. So her journey is really interesting to go on as she's kind of becoming aware of these things, and how we go on this, like the emotional scene with her working with the EFT, the tapping, emotional freedom technique. And she's, we see the audience gets to experience like, wow, she's got all of this emotional trauma trapped in her body. And perhaps that's what's expressing through her skin. So it's like unprocessed emotions. So it's really, the cool thing I like about that is I feel like everybody that watches that scene starts to go, okay, where am I doing this in my life?
Yep. I started to go through like the list of ailments that either I deal with or people I know would deal with. And I'm like, oh man, oh, there we go. Trapped emotion, trapped emotion, trapped emotion, trapped emotion. Yeah. And then you get stuck in a cycle of just managing it and not really solving it. And it's like a losing battle, really, if you don't make that shift. Yeah. No, I was at Powerful. I remember sitting in the audience and like people were crying during this film, and I remember thinking to myself when, I think, is her name Eve, the lady that is going through, Eva, she's going through the cancer treatment. And I remember thinking, and my dad just went through chemo for lymphoma. And he's had a really hard time, even though he's went through his chemo now, he's cancer free. He has a hard time like experiencing that, because the stories that you hear are not that you get healed. The stories that you hear are that it's really, really, really tough and that people die from this. And it's,
or it goes into remission and then comes back.
And then comes back even with a vent. Yeah. Like those are the stories that we hear. Nobody's out shouting from the rooftops, I'm in remission and I'm living a really great life now. The stories that we get told. And so I remember watching her and just that process of like, oh my God, people need to see this. So what else happens in like with what you guys film that we don't get to see? Because I know that there's some stuff that we don't, maybe it's in I'm sure there's bonus material on the DVD. So let's talk about that.
Yeah, so we have like 16 hours of interview footage because all these people spoke to us for like an hour or 2 hours, and we were only able to put so much in an hour and 45-minute film,
right,
without putting everybody to sleep. But all of these interviews are so profound. We are going to release, there's about 40 minutes of extra bonus material on the DVD and on iTunes extras. So that there's some cool little sections there. There's like a little short section on laughter and how laughter is truly the best medicine and scientifically why that is, which I love and I wanted to put in the film. There is a short film about a boy who was born on the autistic spectrum and how his mother refused, just started learning about the connection between diet and toxicity in the brain. And, he was born premature, had all these surgeries and anesthesia and vaccines and all these things. And so she healed him. She wrote a book called Healing Without Hurting. And so it shows her kind of discovery and how she helped her son holistically, which is really cool. Couldn't put it in the film because, again, it was just too much. But so there's a lot of material. And then I think eventually we're going to release the 16 hours, all the full interviews of the people in the film because they're just all so brilliant and have so much to share. We'll release those, I think, through Hay House. We're talking.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, you could do this stuff forever. You're going to do more films on this.
Yes. So there's so much to discover. I feel like I'm in talks with a couple of people about a television series because, I mean, if you think about it, there's so many, the two-part kind of you mentioned of the film is to show the science behind everything, how everything works, and then show inspiring stories of how people have overcome these, terminal prognosis. And so like to empower with the information and then inspire with an example that people can grasp onto rather than that fearful narrative of death. And, or drugs is the only answer. So I just feel like a series, you know, every hour-long thing could be a different healer or doctor around the world doing amazing healing things. And then also like a success story of someone dealing with that actual illness that has overcome it through a holistic approach.
Super current, because I think there is a shift happening. Like I'm huge into like there's a huge shift happening, and I think we see it because have you seen The Healer on TLC?
That's so funny.
Did somebody else mention this to you?
People keep bringing this up to me, and he's so funny because he and I have been chatting on Instagram because he's like, our projects are coming out at the same time. This is so cool. You know, he's like, maybe we should work together, but I haven't seen it yet. So
yeah, no, it's really good. It's really good. And it's totally up this alley.
Yeah.
But yeah, you could do a whole series on like getting into all the different modalities because you guys talk about a lot of them in the film, EFT and Reiki and a whole bunch of stuff. And then you guys even have a medical medium.
Yes.
Which is really cool. I don't know. So tell me how a medical medium works.
So Anthony William, you know, he's got thousands of followers because there's all of these, especially women, but men too, dealing with these chronic mystery illnesses that Western doctors don't know the answer to. So he heard this voice from what he calls spirit when he was 4 years old. And he tells the story in the film, but he basically now has this gift that he can get information in his ear, like someone's whispering in his ear about, if he's in the room with me, he'll be like, oh, you're deficient in zinc, you've got lower back issues, and you have a heart palpitation, you know? Like he can just analyze because spirit is telling him what's going on with you.
Did you have him do that? I would be like, you need to read me.
I did. I know. He actually did in the film. I don't know if you remember, but he's like, oh, I thought you had a heart murmur. And I was like, oh, funnily enough, my integrative doctor, you know, gave me an EKG because he's like, your heart skips a beat sometimes. I'm like, yeah. And like every maybe 5 months, 4 months, it literally skips a beat. And I'm like, ah!
Yeah.
And it's like scary, but they just realize that it's like double jointed valves or something. And it's fine.
Like a prolapse valve.
Yeah. So the fact that he picked up on that, I was like, okay, maybe, you know? So, and he picked up like kind of a back spasm I've had for 20 years. He's like, you should really go to a chiropractor. I'm like, I do all the time. So, yeah, but he's fascinating and he's literally helping people. I've gone to, a conference of his. I actually took Eva, the woman with the skin issues, and he would read people up there, and there's no way that he would know what's going on with them. Like these women and men would just like feel so relieved that somebody's giving them answers, you know?
Right.
And his whole thing is like, until you know what the issue is, you can't move forward, you know? So just knowing answers. And his big thing is he heals through food. And minerals that are deficient in our, you know, bodies these days. And so he's written 2 books or 3 books now, but they're really good and they're helping. He's got like a 50,000 person wait list. I mean, he's pretty remarkable.
Yeah.
But it was a little, you know, like I didn't want to turn anybody off.
Yeah, when you get into that kind of stuff, sometimes it's a little woo-woo.
Yeah.
It's like how much
and like really religious people. I had an expert that I interviewed and she found out that he was in the film. So she declined to be in the film because she's very Christian, you know?
Right. And that doesn't line up. Yeah. Yeah. I feel you. I thought what was really cool is you take Eva to sound healing, right?
Yeah.
And like, you get a chance to like like they measure it. They have like this thing that they're able to measure what's going on in her body. And I love the part where you can take these concepts of like energy healing and sound healing and all of that. And then you can see tangibly, like with science and with something that's measurable, like what it's doing.
Yes.
That was brilliant. I want to go do sound healing now.
Yeah, he's amazing.
Exactly.
He was one of the most fascinating people. I mean, I asked him one question, he spoke for 2 hours, and my producing partner and I were just like, holy, boom, our minds exploded. But yeah, so he does this, he finds the sound frequency that's specific to you or anyone who's watching. And he hooks you up to, and he measures it, you know, scientifically, and he can measure when your body drops into the parasympathetic response, or the relaxation response, which is where you have to be if you're going to heal. Most of us, unfortunately, are leaning
never get
our time in the stress response, and you can't be they're mutually exclusive. So you can't be healing and repairing while you're stressed. And so it's one of the big messages of the film. So we see through his instruments, when he measures Eva, that she's in this chronic state of stress. And even when he found that sound frequency that is her frequency that just immediately relaxed her, and you can see it, you could see it on her face and everything. It didn't fully cross over. It went back into the stress response. So that to me, it was just like, oh my God, this is not
her body is conditioned to live in
stress.
Right. Yeah,
exactly. Yeah. And so the only way her body is like expressing through the skin, we got to figure out what emotionally or in her life is getting in the way of, or it could be toxicity too, but you gotta really look at stress in your life as a big factor.
Yeah, no, when I was watching that, I was like, oh my gosh, because she's constantly in this like fight or flight mode.
And you would never know by talking to her, because she's
she's like cool and cool and cool.
Yeah, she's, but then he measured, he showed us tangibly, like you said, that no, she's on this underlying, she's a good actor in life, and she's like a strong woman, and she just battles through having kids and going to work and and relationship stuff. But if you get down underneath the surface, she's just constantly stressed.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. So somebody asked, for Anthony William, the medical medium, is this the guy that diagnosed his grandmother?
Yes. With lung cancer at age 4.
That's crazy. Yeah, powerful stuff. Let me ask you this. Do you have a personal story with energy healing?
Yeah, I have been just curious. I think it started, I've had so many like different little healing stories. Like when I was in high school, this is probably like the first seed that was planted in my head. I went camping with some friends, and my mom was like, okay, just don't get sick, and of course I came back and I was like deathly ill for 5 days with the flu.
Right.
And then my glands never went down. They were the size of golf balls for like, almost a year. And they put me on antibiotics. They put me on penicillin. And then finally they're like, we need to cut you open and do a biopsy. Maybe this is cancer. Maybe this is, just 17-year-old girl doesn't want to hear that.
Right.
So I went in, got the biopsy, came back normal. So it was like kind of what Eva's going through. It's just like nobody knew what was going on. Just my glands, my lymph nodes were swollen out like golf balls. And so finally my mom's chiropractor was like, oh, she should just try gargling and swallowing like a rice vinegar. Mm-hmm. So I did that for 5 days and my glands completely went down. So it was just my body wasn't able to clear this infection, and it needed to change the pH in order to do so. So that was the first thing. Like, I didn't have to go through surgery and like get put under general anesthesia. I could have just swallowed.
Gargled.
Yeah. So that was probably the first seed that was planted. But then, in my 20s, I had been exposed to mold, which I wasn't aware of, but I was always kind of fatigued and like brain foggy, so it was just like exploring and going to different people to try and remove these blocks. I just didn't know what it was. It was just, I thought it was emotional stress. Like I was overthinking everything and, typical 20-year-old girl stuff. But, so I've been to shamans, I've been to Reiki, I've been to psychics, I'm just like an explorer. And so, yeah, I've done ayahuasca. Like I've just done it all,
You are such a good friend. You're such a good fit for us. This is like all the stuff we talked about. I was telling my friend Heather, I was like, dude, we need to go to, in Costa Rica. What is it called? It's called, it starts with an R.
Rhythmia?
Yes, thank you. I'm like, I can't even think. I'm like, we need to go to Rhythmia. Take a trip.
Totally.
And just about this opening and like, yeah.
Totally. Yeah. And we all have childhood stuff that, I think we are all intuitively knowing that there's some patterns that we want to break, whether it's ancestral or directly from a trauma, whatever,
What's so funny? This is totally off subject. My friend Lauren and I were talking about this the other day, and she said, what's so funny is like, I don't have anything really huge from my childhood, and neither do I. Like we have pretty normal childhoods. And she's like, you would think I wouldn't be dealing with stuff at my age, but I still deal with that stuff. And I was telling her, I don't know. I think we come into the world and you got to deal with this stuff regardless of what happens. Either life events are going to happen to trigger it, or you're still going to have it. Yeah. If you don't have a life event, you still got to find your way through.
Right.
Yeah. So chill about that.
Yeah.
So let's also talk about, I'd love to get on a little bit with you. You talked about, when I saw you in Long Beach, somebody had asked something and you said about, finding your calling and then having the doors open for you, and like how you can really get in that space of finding what you love and then watch the universe work on your side. Can you talk about that a little bit? Because I think there's some huge lessons in that.
Yes, it's really cool. And I think it's like directly has to do with healing as well. I've done, like you read in the bio, I've produced other films, but they were like kind of like struggles, and you learn lessons, and it's stressful because there's not this like passionate force that is aligned with your calling and what your purpose is for you and your gifts, so essentially like chose to do these films for reasons that weren't aligned with my highest purpose. And the difference between the two experiences, once I finally was like, okay, listen to my heart, I'm driven to do this, I started paying attention to like, I was, I could be talking about acting and like going on audition and booking a job or a film that I was doing, and it was way less exciting to me than talking about all of this stuff we're talking about. And I would just light up, and it was just this knowing, and I wanted to help people, and people would come to me and be like, well, what does that mean? And what are you doing now? And what is this shaman or whatever, and, or gratitude journal. I was just like, dude, it works, so I was lighting up. I was starting to become aware of what could I talk about endlessly for hours, what lights me up. So once I kind of followed that path and decided to make this film, it literally was such a flow process that everything just, everybody said yes. All the people I wanted to put in the film said yes. Any challenge that came up, I paid attention. I'm like, okay, they're just, not aligned. Like it just became crystal clear to me. Right. And throughout the process, I learned to really trust my intuition, and then also trust like, okay, this was my desire and intention, but the universe is showing me something else. So I started paying really close attention to like who came across my path and just be open,
right?
Saying yes to it. And it just flowed. It was so cool. And when it comes to healing, like Dr. Kelly Turner, who's a researcher that wrote the book Radical Remission, which I would highly recommend to anyone that knows anyone dealing with cancer. She studied like hundreds of people that spontaneously healed, radically remissed from stage 4 cancer. They were basically sent home to hospice, and they all healed because a lot of them quit their job that was stressful and not aligned with their purpose. A lot of them started doing things that they enjoyed because they hadn't made time for it in life, but now that their life was ending, they wanted to do things that brought them joy. So this led her to the conclusion there was 9 things that all of these people that they all did a version of, and 2 of them were physical, like taking herbs and supplements and changing your diet, radically changing your diet. The rest were mental, emotional, and spiritual. And one of the spiritual things is like finding meanings for living and like aligning with your true purpose. So it's, and that like literally, if you're doing a job that is because, it's safe, or it's what society tells you should be doing because you need that paycheck, that's killing your soul, it will eventually manifest as a physical disease. You're out of ease, you're out of alignment with what you're here to do. So I just thought that was so cool because I experienced it. It was like life imitating art. It was just awesome.
Yeah. Well, when I think about it, it's like the same, and like the energy force that heals you is also the energy force that comes in and like invigorates your path. It's like the same thing.
Correct.
And, sometimes, and if you're like me, you got kids and you're like, yeah, this whole like living your life of like your dreams, and you got small kids or you got a job you got to have, that sounds really great for you. But for me, so people like that, I mean, I guess you have to find space where you can do stuff that really brings joy to your life.
Totally.
If you have to have a job you hate, you better find something that brings you joy.
Right. I mean, exactly. Yeah.
Let's see. So my friend Lauren, she says, question, for those people that heal their bodies, how were they able to overcome and actually believe that they could heal when they are in the midst of what is? Like they can feel the lump, their body hurts. Is there something they have in common?
Yeah. So, I mean, again, if the more stories you hear of people making that transformation, like that's why I really want our minds are designed. I mean, our brains are designed for survival. We're evolving, but we're still have that brain of where we're searching for the threat in our environment, so that we can fight for our life or whatever. So our brains are kind of hardwired to go to the worst case scenario.
Mm-hmm.
And we need to start shifting our mind.
I'm dying. She's like, our brains are hardwired to go to the worst case scenario. I text my friend Heather at 8:50. I was like, Kelly has not jumped on the Zoom yet. I'm freaking out. What if she doesn't jump on? And I'm like, oh my gosh. Like,
we just go to that worst case scenario because of like survival. It's ingrained in us, and we need to start training and evolving to like practice focusing on the best case scenario. So I think it's important to continue to give so many examples of people healing from stage 4 cancer, or that lump, or the diagnosis that someone has given you. The more you know what's possible with the human body. That's why I thought Anita Moorjani's story that I included in there is so important. She was the final straw, which told me I have to make this film now, is reading Anita Moorjani's book, Dying to Be Me. Mm-hmm. She had stage 4 cancer, lemon-sized tumors all over her body, coming through her skin. She was in a coma, went to the hospital. Her doctors were like, okay, this is it. Organs shut down, muscle mass is gone. I mean, there's no way that we would think a human body can recover from that situation. And she had a near-death experience, and you can watch the movie or read the book to find out more. But she had a shift in consciousness, realized the cancer had come from fear, living and making choices out of fear her whole entire life. Mm-hmm. And when she got that clarity and shift, she came back out of the coma, and in 3 weeks, tumors dissolved. Her doctors have medical records showing that her cancer dissolved faster than they had ever seen cancer before. And because all she did was a shift in consciousness, and it's easier said than done, but that shows me what's possible with the human body. So the more you learn and the more examples of possibility that you grasp onto, the less you're going to be fixated on what your doctor is telling you is possible, because they don't have the authority to tell you what's possible. They can give you the diagnosis, but don't accept the prognosis. Nobody can tell you what's possible in your life. And so that was my intention. We need more examples of people that have healed from cancer and show what's possible. And then the more people focus on that, the more stories, and then it's a snowball in the right direction rather than in the wrong direction.
Yeah, huge shift. Yeah, I mean, when you look at the prognosis, they're like, 1 out of 10 or whatever. And it's like, well, there has to be other people to get that, 1 out of 10 or there are people.
What are those ones doing? Study what the ones are doing, not the 9s,
Exactly. So cool. So the film comes out. Everybody can get it on Tuesday.
December.
iTunes. Can you go to Amazon?
Amazon as well, yeah.
Amazon. You can go to healdocumentary.com. If you go to healdocumentary.com, there is a promo code
for the DVD. I don't think iTunes allows us to do the promo code, but yeah.
The DVD. Or get it on iTunes. We'll probably get it on iTunes. Let's see. And then what's coming up next year for you?
We shall see. I'm just again, we're focusing on releasing the film. It's been, we've had screenings all over the world. People in Australia are loving it. There was a screening in Sri Lanka and Kuwait. People are just loving it and really sharing it with loved ones who they feel need it. So we're just kind of finishing the launch and figuring out, depending on how well we do on iTunes, Netflix and Amazon will come in with it. So who picks it up for the streaming VOD, the subscription. So, we're just really focusing on boosting iTunes for this month. And then And then we'll see what happens. I mean, it's either going to be a television series, it could be Heal 2, but there's so much more to explore, and there's so many more inspiring. I mean, people are coming through, they're like, I have an inspiring story to share, which is also what we're doing on healdocumentary.com. We're having a community page where people can upload their success story. So people can kind of, eventually as it gets built out, people can say, okay, I have eczema and psoriasis, like, and look at all these success stories and what they did to heal holistically. You can also search for healers in your area and see kind of people can upload videos about what they do to help people.
That's cool.
And then, or if you have a call for help, like you can upload a video saying, this is what's going on in my body. Does anyone have any answers? So it's kind of a community network that we're starting there to help people find answers. So we shall see. I don't know. Again, just kind of open to the universe to see what comes across and puts us on our next little journey.
So cool. Let me just check over to Facebook and see if we have any other questions. If you guys have questions, go ahead and post them up. I'll go through real quick. What's best for you guys? Somebody asked, should we purchase through iTunes? What helps more, iTunes or DVD?
iTunes is it's because
it's the way of the future.
the more we're right now, we're the top pre-order on iTunes to come out on Tuesday. And you know, the more iTunes sees that, the more they'll put us on their homepage for documentaries, and we can reach the mainstream that way because just more eyeballs on it.
Yeah.
But again, if you're a DVD person, get the DVD, whatever's going to help you.
Somebody asked, how do we help people shift their mindset?
Great question. We start to talk about it in the film that when you increase positive emotions, that has a profound healing effect on the body. So I would say have them watch the film because there's a lot of good information that may naturally inspire them to shift their mindset. But one of the things we talk about, because I asked that question in the film, it's like, okay, so if someone tells me some scary prognosis and fear is all consuming, right? You can just like downward spiral in fear. We've all done it. I still get triggered with things
all the time,
like daily. So, you know, one of the ways, you know, you can have a pity party for yourself. You can feel bad for yourself. For sure. You can grieve, loss, you can grieve your situation, but then you got to like pick yourself up and go, okay, now I have to do something about it. And one of the ways to start shifting that emotional stronghold of fear and pain is going into gratitude. Finding gratitude is a very, very powerful shifter of energy and of your emotional state in your body. So when you're in gratitude, Joe Dispenza and Greg Braden talk about you know, this whole visualization process and this tool that they give you. Visualize the outcome that you want, whether it's a healthy body, whether you want to walk again, whatever the thing is. And you not only visualize yourself doing it over and over and over, which starts to make your neural pathways and new nerve cells in your brain to reflect that healing in your body, but you don't only visualize it with your mind's eye, but you feel it in your body. You feel what it would be like to, you know, grow old with the person you love. You feel what it would be like to, you know, run on the beach again if you can't walk at this point or have MS or whatever it is that you're dealing with. So it's visualization and feeling that feeling of gratitude and like joy that outcome that you want will give you. And that's a practice and a tool you can do over and over. And it actually tricks your body. It actually trains your brain to create the chemistry in your body to reflect that healing. And it's proven, you know? And so gratitude is we can all find things to be grateful for. And gratitude to me is one of the great, you know, creators, shifters. I write in a gratitude journal for things I want as if I already have them. And just to feel that feeling that floods gratitude, compassion, love, joy, laughter, all of those things release healing chemistry from your brain, which is the opposite of stress chemistry, which is going to speed along your process. So, you know, getting out in nature, doing things you love, focusing on what you're grateful for, and then visualizing and fantasizing and being grateful for the outcome you want. All of those things are tools that can shift the chemistry in your body right away.
Besides gratitude, do you have a spiritual practice that?
I meditate. Yeah. That's like my life-saving therapy because, life is moving so fast and we're getting inundated with information. And Marianne Williamson puts it a great way in the film. It's like we shower our physical body every day, but we're not cleansing our mind. And there's this, if you're never cleansing your mind, you have the buildup of all the stress and buildup. So what meditation does, besides scientifically, boosts your immune system, releases healing chemistry into your body and hormones, and also de-stresses you. If you don't it creates space so that you can hear that intuition, you can hear that inner voice. But if your mind is bogged down from years and weeks and days, then you're not releasing that buildup in your mind. Then you don't have any space for intuition, inspiration to come through and hear. So meditation to me, it's kind of like emptying the trash of your mind every day, cleansing your mind. And then what I find is that space, I don't get triggered as fast, because there's just more space, if you're built up and you're at max capacity, the smallest little thing will throw you off. But if you create space, not only are less things going to bother you in life, but then again, that intuition, that inspiration comes through.
Mm-hmm. So somebody asked, Mayuko asks, she sees children in deep stress in different ways and manifesting in different ways. What would you suggest for children? How can I help since they are so little? She does meditation with them and journaling.
Oh, meditation and journaling is amazing. Yeah. Those would be the two top things I would do. And then also children have this immense capacity for imagination.
Yeah.
So if you could maybe add in some, that could be part of the journaling or whatever, but close your eyes after meditating and then start to visualize and fantasize about the life that they want or the healing of a certain situation that's causing them stress. That can start to shift their energy and create that in their life, and also just release, again, healing chemicals into their body that's countering that stress. So finding ways to tap into the imagination and using it for good, to create, to fantasize. Like kids' imaginations are so powerful. It's like, it's much faster. It works much faster in kids than adults.
So true. So true. We lose so much of that as we get older. So Kelly asked, to me, DNA is God's blueprint. Can we find answers for disease there? Like what the medical medium does, create like an individualized healthcare?
Yeah. They're definitely coming a long way with gene mapping and also altering genes. Like there's crazy science right now that can go in and go into your DNA strand and just with some crazy laser or whatever, fix the genetic mutation or pattern of one gene. So that's coming in the future with science and technology. And then, so in epigenetics and what we're learning is that, our DNA is just the blueprint. It's the map that's passed down from your ancestry and from your parents. Deepak, I was just at this event yesterday and we kind of touch on it in the film, but he kind of puts it this way, like you have your genome, which is your 23,000 chromosomes from your mom and dad. And then as you go through the birth canal or not, you get the secretions of your mother has bacteria from the environment, and you get 2 million more other genes, which is bacteria, microbes, basically. So that's the microbiome. And then once you're in the world as an infant, people are coddling on you, kissing you, whatever. And then you get all the bacteria from the viruses and from the environment. So that is more, that's the epigenome. So all of these things are going to affect, we have more bacteria cells, we're like trillions of cells, of bacteria versus human cells. We're more of like a kind of a walking organ, like a macro organism of bacteria, which is great. But that all needs the same amount. So we're getting So our genes are just a blueprint, but so many other factors and environment and the health of our microbiome, all of that is kind of informing what genes express and don't. And there's all of these studies. Meditation like turns on, it down regulates cancer genes and up regulates, your immune system and other, I don't know how to say it correctly, but it's all our lifestyle choices and our beliefs about life that kind of informs and turns on and off genes. So that blueprint is there, but we decide what we're building, basically.
Right. So there's a video that you guys have so much on your Facebook page, between the videos with the experts and quotes. So there's just like so much content there. It's great. But one of them, I think it was a lady, she was talking about, just like, I just got like the immense responsibility that we have, on our own healing. Cause like everything we do, what you're putting into your body, what you're putting into your mind, all of that then has an effect, and like how we're not victims of maybe it's the guy that talks about it. Maybe it's Bruce Lipton. It talks about like you're not a victim of your genetics. And I was like, oh my gosh, there's like a lot of responsibility on us. Let's see. Anything else? Yes. Everybody's loving it. Love the combination of EFT with meditation, visualization. Yeah, there's a really great segment in the film about EFT. It's great. Cool. Let me run over to Facebook. Oh, so nice. My friend Leilani says, she just hopped on out of curiosity. This ended up being in total synchronicity for her and where she's at with her healing. She started seeing a healer last month. So this talks really enforces it. Thank you. Very cool. Yeah, I love it. Thank you. Fantastic. Let me go to Facebook real quick and see if there's any questions over here. And so if you guys want to connect with Kelly, definitely go over to her Facebook page. It's Kelly Noonan Gores. I'm going to go ahead and put the link in the group so you guys can connect with her and see where she goes from here. And definitely go over and like Healed Documentary on Facebook. Check out their website, healdocumentary.com, and for sure, go to iTunes and go and download your documentary.
And leave a review if you, on Tuesday after you watch it, leave a review.
Yes, and leave a really great review. Well, thank you so much for coming on.
Thank you.
Yeah, I'm so excited.
You're welcome.
Cool. Well, thank you. We'll go ahead and we'll put the replay up for all you guys. If you're watching the replay, go ahead and send us a nice little shout out. And then I hope you have a really great day.
Thank you. Thanks, Paige.
Bye.
Bye.
Okay.